Yeah.
says, yeah, now, and then X it out.
Maybe just like
Because
so.
otherwise, yep. There you
Yeah,
go.
start the video.
Good evening and welcome to the regular scheduled Infrastructure Committee. Today is Wednesday, February 19th. It is 6:40 p.m. Members of the committee are myself, Councillor Dean, we have Councillor Fish, Councillor Fournier, Councillor Hawes, and Councillor Leonard. Also around the table, we have Councillor Maller, Councillor Pelletier. We are joined by City Engineer Jefferson Davis and Aaron Hoodery from Public Works. First up, we are going to be talking about the trash can art project by our Bangor High students.
Aaron Hoodery, Public Works, always happy to come in and talk about collaborating with local students. In this case, we have 6 Big Belly trash cans. Big Belly's the brand name of them. Engineering purchased 3 a couple of years ago. Public Works purchased 3 last year. And these are either in use or going to be in use in our downtown area. These are really nice trash cans because all the trash goes inside. They're not available to blow out or anything like that. They don't collect ice and snow in the wintertime, so people aren't trying to lift up heavy bags, or our employees aren't. And also it just keeps people from digging around in trash cans. A lot of times, even my employees are looking for cans and bottles in the trash cans. This just keeps all the trash inside. And it has a nice little function where it compresses the trash and has a little light on the side to let us know when it's full. It's really a nice rig. So each of these has 2 30 by 18 panels, and for the last couple of years, we have been advertising Big Belly on the side of them and the virtues of the Big Belly, and really got thinking that it's time to do something else that benefits the city. I was having a conversation with Eric Hutchins, the chair of the Visual and Performing Arts Department at the Bangor High School, about trying to come up with some Bangor or Maine-centric art that we could put on these, and he just ran with the idea. Really, once we had that initial conversation, I reached out to him recently and said, "Did you ever do anything with it?" "Yep, it's part of the curriculum." He already had artwork and sent over some of the artwork that I attached to this as well. You know, this really does, I think, adding art to these trash cans does enrich the downtown environment, bringing some beauty to really a very functional, basic item. And with the committee's permission, I'd like to put this art on each of the machines and include the students' names and Bangor High School on the bottom of each of the pieces of art. Students did send me over some statements. I won't read them in their entirety, but there was some nice sentiments expressed here. So if it's okay, I'll read these real quickly. Okay. Juliana did the artwork of Blueberries and the Bear. These are my titles. They didn't give me titles for them, but I called it Blueberries and the Bear. She said, "Sharing my artwork with the public is deeply important to me because it allows me to engage with others and express my creativity. Art has the power to spark conversation, provoke thought, and foster connections, and I believe that my work can contribute to that. By having my work published about Bangor, I think it will resonate and spark conversation between many people and their interpretations. I'm excited about the possibility of sharing my work with a wider audience, and I'm grateful for your support in making that happen." Parker Poulin did Bear with Whoopie Pie. She says, "I decided to incorporate some of my favorite things about Maine into my piece. Bears happen to be my favorite animals, so I knew that I definitely wanted to draw a black bear to represent our state. I also wanted to incorporate a whoopie pie because that is arguably the best thing to come out of Maine." I happen to agree with that. Overall, I'm very excited to have this opportunity for my art to be displayed. And lastly, Ryan Warwick said, "If people were to walk down the street on their own and see art alongside the sidewalks that remind them of others in their community, they would also be reminded of the people and imagery that makes the place they live so special. They would be reminded of the students who made the art and the people who care enough to put such attention and effort into the art to make downtown a better area." In doing so, I hope others would be reminded of the roads they drive, the roads that took them to where they are now, and the roads that comprise the place they stand, reminding them what makes it unique and special. And that was the artwork I entitled Main Road Through the Pines. So, sorry, I didn't announce that to begin with as you listen to him. So, staff requests approval to replace the Big Belly marketing materials with the Bangor High School artwork and rotate it out as new artwork becomes available.
So
So moved.
entertain a motion? A second?
Second.
This will go to council next week?
I didn't think so.
No, just a.
Nope. Nope. We're good to move forward
We're
with it.
good.
Excellent, thank you. The 3 new trash cans that will be at Hammond and State and at Central Street and Franklin Street should be placed within a week. So, right there.
Will the students sign these? Our names not part of it.
If they will allow us, I wanted to have their names printed at the bottom, their name and then Bangor High School, but, I don't know.
Or maybe at least. a
Yeah, it's
Bangor High
artwork. They
student.
should be signing them, right?
There may be some controversy with the name, but at least a.
Yeah.
A Bangor High student. Just so-
Yeah. I
Sitting.
put it in here that we would do it with their permission,
Mhm.
whether or not they wanted that, so. Yeah. Nice piece. Thank you for your support of that.
Thank you.
Can we jump right into
Sure.
paving plan?
Paving update?
Yeah, so our process for paving is to have our pavement management officer, Greg Mitchell, assess every street in the city using pavement condition index, which objectively tracks the number of cracks, number of potholes, and the general condition to try to come up with a standardized index of or listing of streets in terms of their condition from best to worst. We use that list and create a 3-year potential paving list each year. And this is part of the pavement management officer position that we made into a full-time position last year. And this 3-year list, I think, is a really important piece as we send out these lists to stakeholders, because that gives them a chance to plan further ahead, especially when we're talking about underground work like sewer, stormwater, Bangor water, Bangor gas. A lot of that stuff really does get planned years in advance. So send that out to get their feedback. Anything that has major work going on, we do try to push that off so that we're not putting down fresh pavement and then digging it back up. Additionally, we use the low to moderate income index to highlight areas that may qualify for funding through the community development block grant and request support for that through the CDBG program. We do have a number of these streets that we've requested, but they can't commit funding until later. And at this point, funding is unknown. But this is a optimistic list in that we will get our funding from CDBG in addition to the funding that we all have. As a reminder, we are on a calendar year paving program. So the money that we'll pay for next summer's was committed in the last budget cycle. And the only difference would be that CDBG budget cycle. So, any questions about the paving list? This is just the 1 year. This is not the 3-year list. This is what we're anticipating doing this year.
No questions? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
And this will be on. No?
Nope, this is just part of regular operations. It's just an update to that. I know, sorry. Just an update to let you know what our plan is. And as always, I give the disclaimer. You don't know what you're gonna get into until you get into the ground. So this could change, and we do have plenty more streets that we could add to this if we needed to. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Next up, Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis, Director of Engineering. I have a couple items before I bring up some folks I have with me. The first item I'll bring up is the MDOT overweight permit for cyclical pavement for US Route 2. I brought these in before. This is just a standard, form that DOT sends out when they, do some of their paving programs. This one is for, a section of roadway, just past Hogan Road. Just before Hogan Road, where Route 2 goes up towards Orono and VZ, or VZ and Orono. And this just gives, it gives DOT permission to, have their contractor be overweight. Sometimes that happens when they're doing paving projects. So it's just a standard form that, it'll go to council next week if you guys approve it, and then when the project comes up and the contractor is selected by DOT, I can take this and have Debbie sign it, or the new city manager sign it, and then the project can move forward. So.
Very good.
So moved. Second. All right, the next one is a, Bangor Savings Bank easement, for the new project located at 36 Pleasant Street. I do have.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Council
I
Ford?
don't know if I have a conflict. I'm a corporator for the bank. It's nothing that I get paid for. I just wanted to bring it up.
I don't see a conflict. Do we take a vote?
You don't have personal gain.
Does anyone have an issue with Council Fournier being present for this? You may remain.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is for Bangor Savings Bank, as I said, at 36 Pleasant Street. They just recently got approved through the planning board for a building renovation project where they're actually gonna keep the facade of that building. They're gonna temporarily support the facade and build a new building on the backside of that. They do have some improvements that they'll need a permanent easement for, and then they'll need a temporary easement for the structure that's gonna support that facade when they do the project. This is at 36 Pleasant Street. Included in the materials attached, I did a little aerial that shows Front Street on the railroad right down on the waterfront. This is all city right of way. They're looking for just a temporary easement, like I said, to construct the support for the facade. And then the permanent easement would be for a continuation of their sidewalk that is on city property that, and some lighting, just that, allows some egress to the back of that 36 Pleasant Street. So we worked with Bangor Savings and their consultants and legal team, and the easement deed is attached. It's very similar to the easement we did in 2020 with them, when they did the 34 Pleasant Street. And that was the original sidewalk, and this is just, again, a continuation of that sidewalk. So I'm just asking for approval to send it to full council next week, and if that's approved then Debbie can sign it, and we can.
I don't believe I have a conflict, but my daughter-in-law does work at Bangor Savings and is president of marketing. I don't think I have a conflict, but I'd like to disclose that conversation. Anybody feels?
Anyone have an issue with Council Fish's predicament? I think we all probably, we all know people at that bank, so I think we're fine. We entertain a motion for
So
the
moved.
easement. Second.
Right.
Great.
Thank you. All right, so the last item is the final report of the Village Partner Initiative. I actually have the consultant team from Sewell, and I have the main DOT project manager, and also Bax sport team. So if you folks want to come up to the table, I'm gonna start, and then I'm gonna hand it off to Sewell and main DOT, and then you can go from there. I'm gonna share my screen that's a, I'm gonna pull up
The attachment?
so I think I have to actually hit share.
I will not be helping you with this.
Yes. Okay. First, I need to open it up. Just bear with me. So this is the final report of the Downtown Bangor Transportation and Streetscape Improvement Study. It's a Maine DOT Planning Partner Initiative. And in October 23, the city hired a consultant team of Sewell and Viewshed, and I have with me Jody O'Neill from Sewell. Other stakeholders included, as I said, Maine DOT, Claire Winter over there. The Bangor Area Comprehensive Transportation System, BACS, Madeline Jensen behind me, and also, we had a lot of city staff, including Ann, Krieg, Aaron, Lonnie Clef from planning, and Wayne Bunnell from engineering. The purpose of this was to create a comprehensive feasibility study focused on the overall circulation of all different modes of transportation, including vehicular, pedestrian, bicycle traffic throughout the study area, which I'll bring up the study area in a minute. A lot of that includes traffic calm measures and pedestrian improvements, again, like we said. The point of this study will help us move forward to go after funding for the construction of this, the design and construction. This is just a feasibility study. There's no construction funds or engineering funds included with this aspect of it. This was brought about through collaboration with DOT. The city has some aging infrastructure on Main Street. Storm, water, sewer, Bangor Water has some really old water lines down on Main Street. That improvements to those utilities will impact the roadway and sidewalk throughout the downtown. So funding from DOT through this grant can help the city offset some of those costs. DOT will pay for stormwater improvements, some traffic improvements, pedestrian improvements. They won't pay for sewer, they won't pay for drinking water. But the thought that John Terrio had was, if we go after this, then we can use some of that to help the city offset some of those costs through there. So I'm gonna go to the study area on the. Okay. So unfortunately, on this TV, it does not show the color as well as it does on a computer screen for some reason, but this light purple shade here is what the study team came up with for a study area. So you can kind of see it's the circular core of downtown. We come out Main Street to Railroad Street, come up Union Street a little bit, down to Water Street and along Washington. And either side of the Candustic Stream, we come up, Park Street and around Center. And, we include the Franklin Street, Central Street, and some of Hammond Street. So that was the first phase of this project, was to come up with the study area. And then from there, the team met and reviewed the existing conditions of the study area. So that included breaking out into teams So we had multiple folks from DOT, multiple folks from Sewell, and their consultant Viewshed, and then city staff included with that. So we all broke out in teams. We walked a majority of the study area, took photos, looked at everything from signage to pedestrian, the pedestrian improvements that have been made throughout the area, the ones that need updates, traffic patterns, striping, everything was included in that. And from there, the Sewell team conducted a traffic and safety analysis of the entire study area. That includes crash data, existing traffic volumes. They conducted a parking study. And they looked at existing and future intersection capacities. If I miss anything, just jump in, folks.
Okay.
But, and then more information on the study area and some of that, data that was collected, is in chapter 3 of this, and then appendix A. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but there's a lot of information included in here, so. You know, in conjunction with the study process, you know, public engagement was a big piece of this feasibility study, and throughout this over year project that we had. And chapter 2, starting on page 12, kind of goes over a lot of what we did, but you know, we had an initial workshop on May 22nd, 2024, which had 30 to 40 attendees. We provided maps of the study area. And the team asked the public to identify issues and opportunities on the maps. It was actually a really well-received workshop. The study team did a great job bringing boards, large, 24 by 36 inch boards with aerials. And they had these little flags on toothpicks where you could go and put, okay, a red flag was an area of concern. And then, we had, green flags were areas that people liked. But it was a really great workshop. And also the team reviewed multiple design approaches. In conjunction with that, the team developed a digital survey that ran from May 22nd to July 17th. And we had 104 responses from that, which was pretty good, I thought. And then the design team and staff worked the Bangor Sidewalk Festival on July 6th, where we had maps available for that and the digital survey stuff that we had. We also went on September 19th, we conducted a second public workshop. We had 20 to 30 attendees. The team went over preliminary recommendations. And those recommendations came from, from our first workshop, all the information that we gathered at the first workshop, the information that we gathered through the first digital survey. And then, of course, all of our meetings that, the design team had with DOT, BACS, city staff. We also had a second digital survey that started on that September 19th. It ran to October 5th, and we had 399 responses, which was pretty remarkable. And our final kind of public engagement piece, some of the team worked at Bangor Sidewalk Festival on October 5th at another table. And so from all the public engagement, the study process and all of that, all the meetings with staff and stakeholders, the team came up with 3 options. Option A was to maintain existing one-way traffic throughout that circular core of State and Central Franklin. And so we would maintain the existing one-way traffic with multiple intersection and streetscape improvements. Option B, to replace the one-way traffic with a two-way pattern used in signalized intersections. And then the option C, which a lot of people a lot of people had strong feelings about on either side, was to replace the one-way traffic with two-way pattern using roundabouts. So I'm gonna hand it over to Jody O'Neill, who is the project manager for Sewell, to present what her team came up with, the recommendations for that.
So I guess what I'm gonna do is just kind of do like a high level, just kind of show you what we have discussed. And then show some examples, do you go to page 31? So I just wanted to show this image, because this is like kind of that circular core that Jeff was talking about. So Central State and Harlow Street, that kind of loop. So in this section, we chose to recommend one-way traffic with the traditional signalized intersections as it is today. And with this, we would include the streetscape and intersection improvements, changing the parking from angle parking to parallel parking all the way around the loop. We would include traffic calming measures, which would be narrowing up the lanes, adding curb bump outs near the intersections and near crosswalks. We also included some raised crosswalks, which basically along the stream there on State Street and Central, kind of just past Bagel Central. So raising those and then kind of having like a protected curb bump out area just to increase the visibility of pedestrians. And also it kind of helps the traffic. I'm sure you guys have driven down there. It's kind of a free for all. Once you turn on Central, everyone's like, what lane do we go in? We kind of stay in the middle until you decide at the end and then you go from there. So we did that. We also added bike lanes with bike boxes. So bike boxes are at the intersections. The bike lanes are next to the sidewalk, so they're between the sidewalk and the parking. And then we'll have like a bike buffer in between the parking and the bike lane, just for like door swinging to give the bikers a little bit extra space, and plus people pulling into the parking.
Those are bike blocks.
Yeah, so it just goes in front of the intersection so that the bikes have an opportunity to kind of get out, make their crossing, and get into the proper lane on the other side, into the bike lanes. And then we also had proposed some bike racks kind of strategically placed downtown. What else do we miss? And then just general intersection improvements, which includes, improved crosswalks like the paint or the detectable warning fields. If they need the button replacements, things like that. So let's see. Go to 33 for a second. I think you zoomed in.
Zoom out.
Well, it's okay. I just wanted to show the bike boxes like Jeff was talking about, just so you can see those. And then it also shows the curved bump outs a little bit better on this sheet. So it just kind of makes those crossings shorter for the pedestrians, instead of being wide open. Let's see. If you go to 46, this might be similar, but let me just give us a little bit better idea. Okay, so then we said we're gonna do intersection improvements. This is beyond the circular core. So we just listed the intersections on this page, and then we just had some photos of some of the select intersections that we did. So again, it's like the curb bump outs, the crosswalks, detectable warnings, adding crosswalks, having the bike lanes with the bike boxes. So it was, similar trend all the way through. And then if we go to 47, I was gonna highlight that, which is just the next page down.
Oh, I can do this. Nope.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention the Main Street and Broad Street intersection. So I'm sure you're all familiar with that. So one of the recommendations here was to remove the signal there, but to keep the pedestrian crossing and to do the RRFB. So that's the push button with the lighting crossing for the pedestrians.
That'll be on Main Street.
Right, the crossing would be on Main Street with the with the push button and then eliminating the signal for Broad Street. Still keeping the left turn lane, so people have a place to, wait while they want to turn, but the traffic is pretty low on that street. It's mostly just kind of people looking for parking or deliveries, during the day. So that was the recommendation for there. Let's go to 49. Oops. I think if you go the 1-to-1 and then hit the arrow button down. Okay. So I just wanted to look at Carlo and Franklin. So this one is the same, it's very similar. So, the crosswalk, I guess it would be what, the east side of Franklin and Harlow. We were proposing to have a raised crosswalk there. Yeah, right there. So that would be raised, and then also narrowing up this intersection with those same, kind of like a curved sidewalks, basically extending the sidewalk. Because if you remember that intersection, it's pretty wide open there, and people can get going pretty fast around those corners. So that's what we were proposing. Again, the bike boxes, bike lanes, and then the couple of crossings. And then I was going to show page 51. So this was another intersection that we looked at. So this is Washington Street, Broad Street, and I guess it's Independence Street or something. So right now it's kind of wide open, but there's some sightline issues, a lot of bus traffic that goes into the station there, and the parking garage is also through there. So there is a lot of traffic and congestion. And then, like I said, poor visibility and concerns were crossing, so pedestrian crossing. People said they felt unsafe at this intersection, and there is quite a bit of traffic going down to the waterfront, pedestrian traffic, excuse me, going down to the waterfront, and then also coming up Washington Street. So we did recommend to keep the traditional signal. There's a right turn slip lane kind of going there. So we did say to get rid of that and just kind of have a grassed area, and that's where the sidewalk comes up through. And then improve the crossings with, like the paint, the detectable warnings. And what else do we do? Add the sidewalk, we already said. And then that green space would also probably get rid of the hedges that are right there as they come down over the hill, which blocks the driver's view. So that's what we had proposed there. I guess go to 54, please. So this one I just wanted to bring up. So bike infrastructure was a big part of the study. So this page just kind of lays out a map showing, we used a couple different things. We used protected bike lanes or separate bike lanes, which those will have, dedicated bike lane, a buffer, and then the vehicle traffic. And then we also had shared bike lanes, which is the bike is in the lane with the vehicle. So those areas we did try to reduce the number of shared lanes that we had. We preferred to have the protected bike lane. I think most users prefer that. But we wanted to show this map just showing where we are proposing the protected bike lanes and where the shared lanes would be. So the protected bike lanes are the solid line, and then the dotted line is the shared. So that's within the study area. And then you could go to page 55 or the next page.
You would know.
All right, and let's go down a little bit so we can see the cross sections. I just wanted to show this cross section. So the top one shows the two-way traffic, where we have the two-way traffic, the parallel parking on each side, the bike buffer medians, and the bike lanes and sidewalks. So it kind of just shows that build out of what we're proposing. In a lot of areas downtown, it was wide, there was kind of, we could have a more efficient use of space, I guess. So that's what we're proposing, and then the bottom cross-section shows the one-way like on Central Street. So it has the two lanes going one way, parallel parking, and then we have a median on one side and a 5-foot median and then a 5-foot bike lane. So bike lane only on one side, just to keep those people in the same direction. And so then once they get to two-way traffic, they're now still on the correct side of the road and they don't have to, go back and forth. So that was, the thought behind that. And then obviously keeping the sidewalks on each side.
So this was, just if folks are confused with the photo, this was if we went the two-way option on Central Street, and this is keeping it one way.
Right. Yeah, but right, and then that's the image in the background, and then the cross section is still like what we're talking about, the two-way traffic. So then we gave some options. If you go to the next page. We just kind of want to throw out ideas as far as like that bike buffer treatment options. So the top right side is just paint. So it would be a painted line, hatching, just separating the parked cars from the bike buffer. Then you get down where you have like the delineator posts, there's bollard, with curb options, there's art options, there's planter options. We just want to kind of throw them out there so people can kind of see what it will look like. I just wanted to show those, what we did, and then if you go to 58.
Yes, question, if the bike lanes are what, 5 feet wide?
Yep,
So if you have 5 feet and then a median and then the road, what does that do in terms of plowing? Are they gonna have to run the sidewalk plows down through the bike lanes? Or is that gonna be, because a regular city plow is not gonna get through there if you have a median or bollards or.
right, so it does kind of depend on what that treatment is for that bike buffer. So we have discussed several different ways, but it is gonna depend on how the city wants to maintain that. If they want to do planters that they pull out and then, in the winter, they put them somewhere else and then they plow the whole street, or, like they had expressed that they didn't want to move stuff, that they wanted whatever it was to stay. So
Yeah.
that's,
I mean, this is why we have Aaron involved with this sort of stuff with us. I mean, when we've had, outside of this project, discussions with Public Works on, protected bike lanes and how we would maintain those. Cause it's just something we haven't done yet. But we do have some sidewalk plows, but those really aren't geared for a lot of this, but those are an option. Again, this is high level stuff. We haven't, there's lots of discussions that we have to have moving forward. If we go this route, it's more resources dedicated from, Aaron's group to plow these in winter time. Do we plow these in the winter time? So we understand that there are some, discussions that need to happen, but, this is just the initial step of the feasibility study saying, okay, this can happen here. It's just, things have to fall in place. So, Aaron, if I'm wrong, please.
No. I don't know if you want me to.
One other question with the recommendations on the circular area downtown. If you were to change from the diagonal parking to parallel parking, how many spaces do you lose?
I don't think it was any, there is a parking table in here. I can't remember what page it's on.
There is a part.
There is a parking table.
I can get you that answer. I
Okay.
don't know if I have that right in front of me, but, of course, you do lose some by going that, but
I don't.
in certain sections.
That we did.
So in terms of maintenance, it would be a new thought process for us. And as he said, there's a number of different ways we could approach it, but I think the big thing that we're trying to do is keep an open mind. I think the more bicycle facilities you have, the more people are going to use them. And I know the number of people riding bikes in the winter are minuscule right now, but I think the more facilities there are, the more likely that they will continue to use those. We're trying to approach it from. Not from the point of, we don't wanna mess with that. What can this do for the city? And how can we solve that problem? 5 feet just happens to be the width of our sidewalks, which the sidewalk plow. Services those. Do we have one dedicated to downtown? Like now we're doing the sidewalks, we do that too. It's really, where we end up going, we will figure out a solution, because that's what we're about.
Thank you.
And this is, I came to the city in December of 2016. And we had the walk and roll bicycle group. I mean, this is something they've been pushing for, 15, 20 years of getting facilities like this, and just hasn't happened for different reasons, but this might be a good jumpstart if DOT can provide funding, help us provide funding. So it's just something to think about.
I do think people will use it. And there's been an increase definitely on bikes, and it would keep them out of the road. At one of the meetings, we had a lot of complaints that, bikers and pedestrians are just going everywhere, and like the e-bikes and the e-scooters zipping around everywhere, and hopefully this will give them a space to be.
And another component, if we go down this road and, complete these improvements, would be an education piece of this. We would have to, for bicycle users, pedestrian users, and vehicles.
Jeff, so what do other New England cities that have to deal with snow do for their bikes? Do we
They-
have some specific?
I don't have anything with me, but they have a lot of, larger cities have protected bikeways with, concrete median stuff, and they plow those. I think there are some small communities around Maine that actually have, some of them use a system like, and I can pull information, but I mean, that's where these, this is where the consultants get ideas from, is, different communities and stuff like that, and different designs that they have completed and implemented, so.
Yeah.
The Maine DOT, just to add, like, we're here to support, and we're working with many different towns and cities across Maine. So we have examples of like demonstration projects and things like, for example, the delineators. You can get collapsible ones that can be removable as well, so that if a town wanted to, or city wanted to take them out for the winter, they could. If they determined it was too much hassle to do like extra maintenance. But we've been working with lots of different municipalities across the state on like how to implement these improvements, and then also work with Public Works, so it's not a complete headache. So we have a lot of examples and support and resources we can give.
And I'll go back to the parking question. So existing spaces, it was 162, and with this option, it was 163. So that changed because we did basically change the alignment along the road. So some areas we didn't have parking, and then or now it kind of bumps out, there's not really enough room for parking, so it's just kind of straightening out those roadways. And then towards the end where we had like the bump outs, it also kind of allowed us to get a little bit closer in some areas to the intersection and get a little bit of parking in. So it's, pretty much a wash, it's the same.
Good,
So,
thank you.
And there's some areas that angled parking is not a good idea.
Mhm.
yeah,
So
Central Street.
I'll just, leave it.
Okay, so if is any more questions? So 58 was the shared bike lane, so I just wanted to just show what that would look like. So that one obviously has it painted down the center, and then the other one is kind of more towards the side. So obviously that would be a city choice. Probably to the side is easier for biking, but I just want to show that as an example. And then just looking at just general street improvements, if you go to page 60, please. So Harlow Street, I want to show this one because we kind of added a little bit. So again, this is, parallel parking on both sides, and it's still keeping the one way. Have the sidewalks, and then we have our bike lane on that right side to keep them going in the right direction. We did add a little parking lot, because that again, it has kind of wide open space, kind of unused space. So we kind of added a little protected parking lot, and that is angled, but you're not going into traffic with that. So that seemed to lend itself well to the city lot that's kind of up there, you know, two-way traffic going in and out of that. And you can take that right to loop around, do your parking, and then you come out on Park Street, which is one way, so then it kind of just loops around. So we kind of thought that was a good use of space. You'll lose a little bit of green space in the park, yeah, right there. So you lose a little bit of green space there, and then realigning the sidewalk and crosswalk going across Park Street. Let's see. Big lanes, medians, bike boxes, we already talked about that. Okay, and then, oh, I was gonna show a cross section, I guess, on 66, the next page. So this was Hammond Street, you know, like this is looking like going down the hill. So I was just gonna show this because we had proposed a speed table at the crosswalk that's there. That one seems to have poor visibility. That's two-way traffic, and then again, parallel parking with the bike buffers and the bike lanes and sidewalks. So that's kind of how that street kind of expands out. And then another cross section that's just a little bit lower down on Hammond Street as well. You can see where the sections are on that bottom map. And so that one, we expanded the sidewalks to kind of narrow up those roads. And then keeping the bike lanes and bike buffers and travel lanes. So that's kind of going into the downtown area. That might give opportunity to do stuff on the sidewalks for businesses in that area. And then we'll skip to page 75. So this was the shared plaza. So this is Merchants Plaza and Broad Street. So I just want to show this page just to see the pictures of, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it, but of downtown, what it looks like now. And then we were proposing to do like a WUNR, like a shared, it's a shared use plaza. So everybody, bikes, pedestrians, vehicles kind of all share the same. It's usually like a curbless situation, and then maybe they have different materials kind of designating different areas. If you go to the next page.
So, excuse me, you're
76.
not proposing closing Broad Street?
Not proposing to close it. I mean, people still needed it to access the businesses, to do their deliveries. There's a small amount of traffic that does need to go back there. But I think giving this, giving it a new look and kind of it gives the city opportunities to close it down, like if they want to do it on a Sunday or over the weekend and do like sidewalk sales or art festivals. It would give them a space to do that. And then gives pedestrian just kind of free walking space, and bikes could go down there too. But I think with changing like the materials and the look of it, vehicles, not that they're not gonna feel welcome, they are gonna feel welcome, but they're gonna know that they're in a different space and they're gonna change how they're using it and driving. At least that's what we have found. So, you know, it is low traffic volumes, like I said, and you know, you could do plantings and hold events. So that's kind of what we're showing. So the photographs are examples of other places that have done it. And then the image on the right is just kind of like something we were showing, like where that park areas would be, maybe some plantings, things like that. That's what we were showing there. And then another park space that we were proposing is on the next page, 77. Yeah, so this is the waterfront along the Kenduskeag. So these are, again, pictures of how it looks now. So it's just kind of like open pavement. It's the back of the parking garage. There is a little bit of walking space, and then there's several bridges crossing the Kenduskeag through there. So we wanted to kind of basically create a space that enhances the waterfront and that it's usable, and we kind of get rid of the unused pavement. So the next 79, I think it is. Yeah, so that one has the cross section of it. So we'd keep some parking, keep the road going behind it, but then we'd have the park. So they're saying 52 feet for the river park. It's basically what it looks like. I think there's a blown up, if you go down one more, yeah. So photographs that are on the right are just examples of other cities that have done kind of a similar project. And then the sketch on the left shows kind of our linear park situation that would be along the Kenduskeag. So you can see much nicer green space. It kind of lends itself to opportunities for, you know, potentially like kind of getting a more natural stream, the shoreline, and then also potentially space for flooding mitigation and even water access, because that is one thing that people have mentioned too, water access down there, for like kayaking and boats and stuff like that. Small boats. So that would be the waterfront park. And then I guess on page 81, we just kind of go over materials, just kind of gave examples and city just kind of saying, you know, choose materials, be consistent, you know, that it will look nice, and you guys have a lot going on in your downtown, so, so we just kind of threw out examples of that, of planting, sidewalks, lighting, things like that, and then also, I think it was 84, just wanted to highlight the public art, which it sounds like you guys are already working on with the trash
You don't
cans.
want to highlight who came up with this amazing.
It was, what was his name again? Was it Jeff? Okay, just checking.
Yeah, keep going,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I mean, these are just showing materials and different things. But I just wanted to highlight the public art. You know, that there are opportunities for public art and doing things downtown. So those are things that you guys already have. And then, we did put together a cost. Yeah, cost, okay, yeah. So for everything that we proposed, the total would be $42,450,000. And then obviously there's funding available for this, and then also could be broken up into phases, and also working with the projects that you guys already have going on. Like, we didn't take that stuff into consideration. So that is basically.
And there are individual cost estimates for.
Right, for each
Each option,
section, yeah,
broken up
Options and
in the appendix that we can
As
use.
far as infrastructure, there are areas that need to be addressed first because of the lines under the roads,
Yep,
perhaps?
yeah, the most critical would be, Main Street from Water Street to Broad. That's the section that has, well, the water district continually has water main breaks there. We have some aging sewer that, we don't have great access to. Stormwater is old, the sidewalks are old through there. You know, in 2005, when I was, fresh out of college and on the consultant side, at Ames, A&E right in Bangor, you know, we had a, contract with the city to do streetscape improvements in 2005 to address all these issues, you know? So it's needed through that, so
it didn't get done.
it did not get done to me.
Do we know exactly what you're talking about as far as the infrastructure issues? Because if you've got to dig and dig and dig and fix all of that, you're not gonna wanna start these kinds of improvements.
Well, that's why we're doing this
Right.
study now.
So do you know
Because
how many?
It would be in conjunction with these improvements. So the point is, okay, we would get, you know, we have sewer and stormwater, water.
Mhm.
You know, we would get, funding from, you DOT would help pay for the stormwater portion of that. And in conjunction with that funding, we would, use funding either through SRF or, whatever we put in our budgets. We would do the utility improvement work in conjunction with the pedestrian improvements and vehicle improvements. So,
I can explain a little bit more about, because I was gonna go into process.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
can-
I was gonna,
Yeah, so I can add to that. So we're in the planning stage right now. There's 3 total stages to this process with Maine DOT. The next stage would be preliminary engineering, where we'd partner again. That would be Maine DOT led. This planning effort has been led by the city. But the preliminary engineering will be led by Maine DOT. That has, just to go over a little bit of funding as well, that has an 80% typically federal, or sometimes state, but there's only a 10% local component for funding for match for that. And it's similar for once you head into the 3rd stage, which is construction, it would also be 80% federal, 10% state, 10% local. The complicating factor to that is like, where do we get the funding? How is this all gonna happen? So preliminary engineering, that process, we like, for instance, for 2025, Maine DOT is like fully committed for projects. It's very competitive. There's like lots of projects going on right now. So we'd be looking to partner with the city for potentially looking for opportunities to start next year, with funding for preliminary engineering. And then the construction costs, talking about like, how do we bundle this all together? The reason why it makes sense to try and bundle those infrastructure improvements with this is for that bigger construction cost, we'd be going after a federal grant or federal discretionary money. And those tend to be like higher amounts of money, and it just makes sense to try, if you're gonna dig up the road, do it once, and get multiple things done. And then there's potential there, that we would want to split up the project a little bit, given the relatively big price tag, just to be like, strategic about it. But that's something we work through together with you all, figuring out what makes the most sense.
yeah, so we know we have to fix those utilities in that area. So it just made sense to what can help the city. Because we're gonna have to dig up the road and the sidewalk and all that to do that. To the building, because of not just the main line, but we have all the services that go to the buildings and all that stuff, so. Similar to what we did, state exchange project. And that was a massive project that was building face to building face. So this is something similar.
It's needed. It's been more than needed.
Very nice. Nice presentation. Does anyone have any other questions or comments?
The only thing I have, so then, in conjunction with what Claire just mentioned about the next steps, I have a draft resolution, with the help of Claire that, I came up with. This was not in your packet, so I don't expect any motion on this tonight, but, I will pass it around. And this is something that I will come back to the next meeting when everybody's had time to kind of digest some of this report. And I can also, answer questions.
We need one more there.
Oh, sorry.
We can share that.
So this partially comes from Maine DOT requests, like the commissioner needs some kind of formal motion from a city council to kind of give that commitment to partnering with us through the next 2 stages. And that language, it's also acknowledging that there is that 10% local cost share component. That if you agree to kind of move on and look for funding opportunities with us, that you understand that that would be part of the agreement.
I have a question about that. I don't know if it would be the city. But when they're acknowledging that they're gonna go to the next 2 phases, are they committing to the dollar amount that we put in there? Or they're just saying, we wanna do phase 1, or we wanna do phase like 1 through 5, and so they can still pick and choose what they want to
Typically,
commit to?
there's flexibility you're committing to like the vision of the project, but at this stage with preliminary engineering, we don't necessarily always have like a dollar amount, like, you know, it's, we're gonna do the
Secured,
full project, it's
right.
all or nothing. Just
Okay.
because we need that flexibility in terms of like what kind of federal funding might be available.
Mhm. Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to get this out in front of you tonight. I know it was a lot of information to digest. I'm thinking maybe the next infrastructure meeting, I would bring it back and see if we can maybe have a motion to move forward to full council, if that's all right.
It might be helpful if you had an idea of what the phases for the
Yes.
project,
Yep.
like, this is what we were thinking phase one might look like, and maybe a time period with that and how you would see it unfolding.
Great.
Well, thank you for, I know this was a lot, but it
Thank
was,
you.
it was a lot of work by many different people. And thank you to DOT and Sewell and Buchet and Bax and all the city staff.
Anyone have anything else? I believe we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.